L'Assommoir is the seventh novel in Emile Zola's Rugen-Macert series. This novel is a realistic and naturalistic study of the Parisian working class in the 19th century, exploring themes of poverty, alcoholism, and social decay. The story focuses on Gervais Macquart, a laundress, and her struggle to survive in a hostile environment. The novel begins with Gervais Macquart being abandoned by her lover, Auguste Lantier, who leaves her alone in Paris with their two children, Claude and Etienne. Determined to make a life for herself, Gervais finds work in a laundry and, thanks to her hard-working and resilient nature, manages to lead a modest but respectable life. Shortly afterward, Gervais meets Quo, a roofer, and they get married. Their life starts off well, and the couple saves enough money to fulfill Gervais's dream of opening her own laundry. For a while, the business thrives, and Gervais enjoys a period of relative stability and comfort. However, things take a turn for the worse when Quo, after an accident that leaves him unable to work, falls into idleness and alcoholism. He begins frequenting L'Assommoir, a grimy tavern where he drowns himself in alcohol. Capote's decline gradually drags Gervais into a downward spiral of misery. Unable to repay the debts incurred for her business, Gervais watches as her laundry fails and eventually closes. Lantier, Gervais's former lover, reappears and moves in with her, further exacerbating the situation. He exploits Gervais, who, exhausted and desperate, is drawn into a life of debauchery. Gervais's degradation is swift. She becomes an alcoholic, neglects her children, and sinks into extreme poverty. The novel ends on a tragic note. Gervais, destitute and dishonored, dies of hunger and misery in a squalid room. Her fate illustrates the descent into hell caused by alcoholism and poverty. The other characters in the neighborhood continue with their lives, indifferent to her death, while L'Assommoir remains a symbol of the destruction that awaits those who succumb to it. L'Assommoir is a quintessential example of Zola's naturalism, aiming to depict the raw and often cruel reality of working-class life. Gervais Macquart represents a victim of social determinism. Despite her efforts and good intentions, she is inexorably drawn into poverty by the social forces surrounding her, particularly alcoholism, poverty, and exploitation. Zola uses L'Assommoir to criticize the devastating impact of alcohol on the working class. The tavern that gives the novel its title is a place of perdition where workers, overwhelmed by the harshness of their existence, seek oblivion, but find only ruin. Alcohol thus becomes a symbol of social and moral decline. The character of Quo embodies this downfall. Initially an honest and hard-working man, he becomes a violent and lazy alcoholic after his accident, dragging his entire family into decay. Gervais, despite her strong character, eventually succumbs as well, highlighting the powerlessness of individuals in the face of social determinism. L'Assommoir also serves as a critique of the living conditions of workers, who are trapped in a cycle of poverty, exhausting labor, and hopelessness. Zola provides a strikingly realistic portrayal of the daily life in Paris's working-class neighborhoods, with their squalid housing, overcrowding, and lack of escape. In conclusion, L'Assommoir is a novel that illustrates the fatality of the working-class condition in 19th-century Paris. Despite Gervais's efforts to rise socially, she is ultimately crushed by the forces of alcoholism and poverty. Zola thus depicts a society where the chances of escaping misery are slim, and where institutions such as family or work, rather than protecting individuals, can instead precipitate their downfall.